I do, and my toenail clipping.
Just
And
like Howard Hughes
Yep.
out in the desert. You're out in the desert doing the same thing.
Yep, and I wear tissue boxes as slippers.
Nice. All right, we're
Yep.
ready. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Angry and Ornery Show. I believe this is episode 6, and we are also back on our schedule, so we're happy about that, thanks to the great help of our new technician, Mr. Florian Blaisdell. Let's give him a round of applause, if you will. Thank you. We are live, currently streaming on Livestream. So if you are out in Livestream land, welcome and thank you for watching. Please tell your friends to log in and watch us there, as well as perhaps they could log into Second Life, where we're taping live in a studio. If you would like to log into Second Life, you create an avatar, get on, give me an IM, and I will get you here to the studio, and you can be a participant in the hijinks. Once again, we're in the beautiful Avalon, the city of Avalon, in the wonderful sim Staccato, owned by Cammie Larimore. We want to thank her for letting us use this space to do these recordings. And I think that's all the kissing up. Let us bring out, speaking of kissing up, let's bring out our co-host, Lionheart. Give him a round of applause, please. Hey, Lionheart, over here, up on the stage. Over here, over here. Come here.
Issues.
How drunk are you that you can't control your avatar in a 10-foot space?
Very. But that's beyond the point right now.
All right, you need to get in the camera shot, dude, so stop moving around like a yo-yo. What are you doing?
I don't know what's going on. I'm possessed.
All right, you'll have to excuse him while he gets his poop together. So, how are you doing other than being actually not having any hand-eye coordination?
I think I busted one of our clients in one of our studio audience members. There.
Yeah, so you almost climbed on the lovely Rouza sitting in the studio audience, which I'm sure that made her feel quite welcomed.
Yes, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm pretty good, actually. It's a hump day, and I feel good that we are back on schedule. So that always is a good thing. I did notice in our studio we have one whole front row of one, two, three, four, five ladies sitting in a row there. I was wondering if the ladies would be offended if we did what Craig Ferguson does on the Late Late Show, and gave the what?
Have a dancing horse?
No, not a dancing horse and not a talking robot. Did you know that his first row is devoted to female lesbians?
No, I did not know that.
You better not go there, right?
A couple jokes popped in my mind. Decided to go there.
How blue will this show get? Depends on how drunk Lionheart becomes. All right, Lionheart, why don't we take a seat and get at it today?
Expect me to sit down?
Yeah, good luck with that.
God, it's just a click.
So what has transpired over the past week? It was only a week ago when we filmed. We normally film every 2 weeks, but we had to get back into, without missing a show. So we recorded an extra run to make up for one, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy. Anyways, anything occurred to you during this past week?
To kind of go back to a subject we talked about last week briefly, I found out something horrifying. And when I heard about this, it actually made my skin crawl. And the funny part is I spoke to another.
You found out that it's not good to live with your mom at age 42?
No, we were talking about ratings and how some good ratings canceled.
Oh, right.
That
Hold hold down your key button there, buddy, because you're breaking up a bit for me.
I'm try not to move. Do I sound better to you now?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. They no longer look at normal rating. They look at ratings, which is people.
I'm hoping. I don't know. If maybe Florian can tell me if you're cutting out on him on the feed, but for some reason I'm only catching snatches of your conversation. So I tell you what, hold down and lock your key open.
It is, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
I'm also having bad.
Right. You know what I'll do? This is kind of like that game that you ad libs. You'll say things, and when you blank out, I'll just fill in for you what I think you're going to say. So go on with what you're saying, and don't worry about me throwing in an extra word or two here.
No. What it was is they now to see
They
how
now
many.
see how many.
Watch the commercial.
All right. Well, I mentioned before the show that we were going to talk about a couple of things this week. We don't have a special guest. And, oh, look, there's people logging off because we don't have a special guest. But I wanted to talk about a few things that we have been watching. I don't know if you've seen a few of these things or not, but I mentioned that I'm secretly well, not secret anymore, I guess, but I'm currently watching Downton Abbey. And I know you're going to judge me and say horrible things, but I want to just explain that, first of all, I believe that Downton Abbey is a soap opera like you would see in the middle of the daytime, perhaps. I think that it brings nothing more than highfalutin drama to PBS or other artsy networks and such. But I got to tell you, it's some of the best crap I've ever seen. There is something totally addictive about that show, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. I don't. Does anybody in the studio audience listen to or watches Downton Abbey or has seen it? Because if you have not, you really have got to, and then you'll understand. I believe that it's because of the acting. The acting is superb. I mean, every character is really, really good in it. And it's British, of course, very British, which, that's my origins. But I think that the storylines are pretty simple. There's not a lot of shocking surprises, although it can get a little shocking and risque. They do cover subject matters like gay men and women, and they cover World War I. They actually showed scenes of horrific wounds and blood and gore and adultery and so I mean it's a typical soap opera, but it's just done really well. So let me ask you, Lionheart, why is it that you don't watch it, or you probably never will watch it?
PBS. That's why.
Oh my God, really? Seriously?
Seriously.
Why won't you watch PBS?
Because I don't like watching a show and having some guy chime in telling me I need to pay $100 on watching a show. That's why.
Right. Well, I agree with you. That's true. But the Downton Abbey is available on DVD in sets now, so you can watch an entire season, and I believe it's a little less than an hour an episode, so you could probably get through. I tell you what caught me, the very first episode I actually saw on PBS, and that's why I went out and got it on DVD to watch. It's not because of the lack of commercials or whatever. It's just, it was so cool in the open, and this is not a spoiler. I was watching the first one just randomly. It just happened to start, and the family sitting down at the table, and they are reading the newspaper, and they all suddenly get very sad because they've just found out that some extended family had died. some cousins and cousins of cousins and what have you. And it's then later revealed that these people had just recently died on the Titanic, which had just sank. And it was making the news, and they found out about it that way. So they tie in a lot of really cool historical events throughout, the late 1800s and early 1900s. So, anyways, I just want to get a plug in. If you guys really want to try something, if you've watched Walking Dead and Breaking Bad and True Blood and all these other series that have you on edge, then relax, make yourself a cup of tea, and watch some Downton Abbey. I guarantee you will enjoy it. It's just really well made. All right, so I'm done. What do you got?
I'm sorry, I'm falling asleep listening about Downtown Abbey.
It's Downton, you asshole.
Downtown Abbey. Wasn't she like one of the prostitutes? Like
Broadway? Yeah, you would know, I think. But
yes.
Well, what are you watching that you think is superb currently?
Currently, right now, of course, Hannibal is still at the top of my list. Every week they gain more viewers. It's becoming highly rated. That's
why do you think that is? What do you think it's the intrigue, the violence, the tie into the books or the movies, or what?
You know what? It's really not that violent. When I say Hannibal to a lot of people, they get turned off, and the first thing they think of is the movies and cannibalism. Yes, that happens, but it's done tastefully.
Has he fried up anybody's brains while they sit and watch yet?
Yeah, well, that's just it. He has killed multiple people and eaten them, but it's all, he's going to kill the person, and then the next scene is him cooking. And it looks like something you could get from the meat market. So, it's very well done, but it's very well written, it's very well acted, and it's deep. That's very good. And have you been watching Fargo?
Hold on, before you move on on Hannibal, I thought it would be really cool. Have you seen either a fava bean or a Chianti commercial during Hannibal yet?
No, not during, but he will say that he is serving a meal with either fava beans or a Chianti. So,
well, the reason I didn't watch Hannibal, I haven't seen it yet, and I do want to. I probably will go out and get the first season on DVD, but the reason is it so much looks like this new plot formula that television is cranking out by the bushelsfuls, and that is the villainous anti-hero who we all love and root for. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's being repeated. I mean, Dexter, of course, is a perfect example of that. Walter White from Breaking Bad, perfect example of that. The all of the biker dudes in help me out, Olivia.
Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy, right. So, the thing is that women love the biker guys from Sons of Anarchy, especially Jax, the main guy. He's a stud muffin, and they just love him, and they cry when he gets hurt, and they hope he wins all the fight. But what they've lost sight of is that he's a killing psychopath drug addict. I mean, this guy is not a guy you'd want to have a real-life relationship with. And I know the girls like the whole bad boy thing, oh, he's a bad boy, I'll fix him. No, you won't, all right? He's murdered in cold blood hundreds of people in the 5 or 6 seasons that I've watched. And, Breaking Bad, Walter White, when he dies, people cry, and, oh, geez, there's a spoiler. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. How about you watching Breaking Bad? Yeah, okay, it was all over the news. But anyways, and I'm thinking Hannibal, and to some extent, the Norman Bates show.
Bates Motel.
Bates Motel, right? Same thing. So directors, producers, and writers are gearing us towards liking that evil person. Why do you think that is?
But you're looking at this in a good light. But there's another way to look at this. Hannibal technically came before all those shows because he was a book, and it's the whole, you want to root for the bad guy. People like it when the bad guy wins every once in a while. They like that anti-hero. They like the fact that somebody's doing something that they may or may not have always wanted to do, like killing somebody and getting away with it. We're an unhealthy society. We
Well, not
really are.
only and more proof that we're unhealthy is shows are made for us to love the villain, and any hero or person that is going to take charge and solve crime are usually angst-ridden, mopey, emo types like Batman, who has to skulk around and hide, and even Superman with all of his problems from Krypton, and all of the superheroes don't. We want them to be heroic and kick ass and be, finally. Why can't answer me this, Lionheart? Why can't they make a superhero movie where the superhero does nothing but kick bad guys' asses? There's no
That
issue
would be
with
boring.
identity. Would it? I mean, I would love to see that. I want to see heroes just winning instead of
But-
getting their asses kicked. Every scene, a superhero gets bloodied to a pulp, and then they have to climb out of their depression and their wounds to fight the bad guy and just in the nick of time win. How about just right out of the chute, they kick everybody's ass, bad guy after
Well,
bad guy.
Rauza just that's exactly what Dexter did, because he doesn't kill good people. He murdered people who had murdered other people and gotten away with it, or
But that doesn't make
dealers.
Dexter. That doesn't make Dexter an angel. He's not a nice guy. He's a psychopath.
No, he's not.
Sure he is.
He's doing what you just now said. He's going out and he's kicking the bad guy's ass. The only thing is at
Right.
the end of it, he kills them. What's the difference?
Right. Because he's a villain. He's not a hero. You can't call what he does heroic. If he were
Why
to
not?
capture these guys and imprison them, because it's cold-blooded murder. Have you seen how he kills people, dude? He coats himself in blood.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh my! That makes me glad that you're out in
The desert.
the desert, right?
Yeah. No. But you said though it's a formula that they're going to, and guess what we're going to get next year?
More of the same.
Friday the 13th, the television series based on Jason.
And Carrie.
And, I haven't even heard of the Carrie yet.
Yeah,
so.
Carrie, I think is a network thing. Could be CW. Sounds like. Just wanted to make a comment on Salem. Have they canceled that show yet?
No, it got picked up for a second season.
Oh my god!
Girls love it.
Okay, listen. I watched the first after all of the hype. The CW hyped the crap out of it. Somehow they crossed over into other networks and were airing commercials on like ABC and Fox and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, okay, so this is a big budget. They actually built Salem, the town, with working buildings. People could go inside them, and they filmed inside these buildings and outside these buildings. And they had a relatively unknown cast. And I thought, well, look, this might be really good, which could be interesting. Who knows? I watched the first show, and I actually turned it off about 3/4 of the way through. I thought it was dreadful, horrible, completely hacked writing. The acting was crappy. Half the people had accents, British accents. Half the people didn't. I was confused. It got really campy with the witchcraft crap. And I'm sorry, this show might appeal to a 12-year-old girl, but I think it's going to be canceled. I really do.
Well, like I said, it got picked up for a second season already. The only reason why that series came into being is because the FX network did the last season of American Horror Story, and it was called Coven, and it did really, really well. And so that's what little parasite networks like the CW do. They look to see what other shows are doing, and
Right.
they try to copy it. Hence,
And sometimes it works.
Right, and it's like
Right.
when True Blood came out, they did their vampire series show, and the little kids who couldn't tune in to watch True Blood and see the new season stuff, they're getting their fix, whatever that show is that they're doing, the originals or Vampire Diaries or, whatever it is. And it's tripe.
Right. One of our studio guests, Christina, said that CW is one of her shows are on CW, and that's actually what I'm talking about, Chris. Supernatural is an example of a show that actually worked. It was kind of a copycat show. I mean, you can't tell me that it's not a lot like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and other shows that came afterwards, but it got its niche, it's found its audience, and I think it's the #1 show on CW right now, is it not, Lionheart?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Now, I personally have personally not seen Supernatural, and I tell you the only reason why I didn't start watching it was because they're on 215 frickin' seasons.
Right, and I can honestly say I haven't watched a full season. But, when it's like 4 in the morning and you're walking around and awake and you turn on one of the networks and there's an episode on, you can easily drop in and just watch one episode and, get the gist of what they're doing. It's not like the other big network where you have to watch it consecutively. I mean, it's kind of idiot-proof that way, that you can drop in any place and just start watching and know what's going on.
The girls in the audience are commenting that the cast of Supernatural are hotties, and that's another thing that's repeated in most of these hits. If you've noticed, there's always at least one token hottie in the show, like Sons of Anarchy, perfect example, with one or two really good-looking guys there that keep the girls. If you can capture that female audience, you've got a devoted fandom, and I mean fandom, not just people that tune in and watch, but they're the ones that go to the websites, they download their pictures, they have their pictures on their cell phones. How many girls out there in this audience right now have pictures of Dean or the other fellow on their cell phone? Come on, admit it. Yep, there's at least one, two. Go on,
Don't
Rob.
you have pictures of them on your cell phone?
No, I'm sorry. I don't watch the show. No. I have pictures of Walter White and Jesse from Breaking Bad. Oh, wait, I don't even own a cell phone, so what am I talking about?
Wow. Okay.
I am unshackled and free. I wanted to ask you about the Heroes reboot. What do you know about that? The show Heroes coming back to NBC.
They are going to be doing a fresh, as they call it, new cast with new storylines. It's going to pick up X amount of years after the finale of the original show, and from what they're talking about, it's really going to have no ties to the original show. It's going to be the equivalent of, the original Star Trek and then Star Trek The Next Generation. How it was its own thing, but just kind of played in the same universe.
All right, well, the last season of Heroes ended really abruptly with a lot of cliffhangers and no answers. Are they going to address that at all?
Right now, at this point, from what I've been reading, no.
So the cheerleader's gone, and
she's already gone on the book saying she's not coming back because she's got that other show, Nashville, that's doing
Nashville, right? Which is right. Yeah, she found fame with singing, and now they're talking about that she may even release a country album if she hasn't yet.
Wow, she's come along. Heroes,
sure.
Bring it on again, whatever she was.
Well, I don't know if the new Hayden, right? I don't know if the new Heroes is going to be any good, but the first season of Heroes is probably still the best. And I love the fact that these were all, again, they fall into that category of kind of, moody, mopey type of superheroes who have problems. But I love the fact that they didn't know what they were or what their powers were, and people were just discovering them all over the place. And then it got so contrived with this really thick plot by season 2 that I think that's what weighed it down and became uninteresting, and they lost a lot of viewers that way. So let's hope that the new one starts off the way that the old one did.
Right, but you also have to remember the big thing that happened in season 2 that helped kill it was the infamous writer's strike. They only did 12 episodes instead of 24.
Right.
So
I hope they could. The only character that I really liked and I hope they bring back was Hiro, the Asian fellow.
he's on a different network now. He's in a Hawaii 5-0.
Which, by the way, let me ask you about Hawaii 5-0 for a minute. I started watching it. I watched the first, I think, season or two, and family and friends have continued to watch it. So it's being recorded and all. But here's my question: do they take a break? Oh my God, that show is new every week, and it has been for the last 4 freaking years.
Yeah, they're one of the ones, kind of like how Buffy was back in the day. They do anywhere from 26 to 32 episodes a season, and the reason why they do that is they film on location most of the time, and it's cheaper for them to go out and film a whole bunch of episodes instead of doing short seasons. In the long run, it's just easier to stay out there and do all the filming at once.
Right. I stopped watching it because it became a Formula Cop show. It was pretty much the same kind of thing every week. And then I started realizing that they weren't taking breaks for even holidays. Like, how most shows go on a hiatus around Christmas? Hawaii 5-0 was airing new shows like on Christmas Eve. I'm like, who does that?
You know what? It's refreshing. I don't watch the show, but I like it when shows take that initiative and don't, do the whole, we're going to do 6 episodes and now we're going to take a month off.
Do you know the actor's name who plays Steve McGarrett on Hawaii 5-0? Olivia probably does. Olivia's in our audience and she's in love with him. And by the way, another example of having a hottie on a show to bring a female audience.
I don't know his name. The only thing I know is that the other kid in it, the Scott Caan is James Caan. Scott Caan
James
is James Caan's son. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the only thing I really know.
It's a good show. I'm not going to say I don't like it. It's just there's just way too many episodes, and it's kind of like CSI and all the other cop shows. It's just a formulated cop show where you kind of. Speaking of formulated cop shows and/or / mysteries, and I know Christina will perk up, but I have to mention. What's that show called, Christina, with the British guy who's a detective and Sherlock. She's Google over Sherlock. I love Sherlock. I really do. It's a great show, and unlike your traditional, 30 minutes or 45-minute taped shows. Of course, this comes out of the BBC in England, but it's a full 90-minute show, which it becomes more of a movie than a TV show. So it's not like you could just sit down and pop a couple of episodes off. You have to pretty much devote yourself because so much happens so quickly in a single episode. I mean, every couple of minutes there's things going by really fast. And the challenge, of course, like in all Sherlock Holmes type of thing, is you try to solve the mystery before Sherlock does. And Benedict Cumberbatch, terrific. And the great puzzlement about he plays Sherlock, by the way, about Cumberbatch is this: that is one gangly, ugly white dude. Okay, why are young girls so gaga over him? They've turned him into the sex god. How is that happening?
You know what? I think it's the talk, the charisma, and just, it's that whole British thing. I mean, for God's sakes, there were people who thought Ringo was good looking from the Beatles. So, it's the British thing.
Well, they're saying in the audience that it's charisma and, the fact that he's playing an ultra smart person and all that. So perhaps it's just his persona. But did you think he was attractive when he played the villain in Star Trek, Christina, or any of you out there? You did? I mean, he was He was pretty creepy.
You know what, though? In all fairness, in the new Star Trek film, he really wasn't the villain. Not to give a spoiler, if you watch that show,
that's true. That's true.
He's not the villain.
Right.
So
well, he becomes a villain, though, doesn't he?
In a roundabout way, but not fully. I mean, he got caught up in the circumstances.
Listen, Lionheart, you and I have got to set a precedence about spoilers on this show because we're so worried. We tiptoe around the spoiler thing. I think we follow the same spoiler thing that like Siskel and Ebert did and a few other of the movie review shows did. And that is, if it's more than a month or two old, screw it. Just talk about it because people have had their... how about this? For movies, if it's left the theater, we are allowed to talk about spoilers. What do you think?
Fair. That
In
works.
TV shows, let's say the episodes or whatever either has to be over like within a month or two. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. So in Titanic, the movie Titanic, the ship sinks, folks.
Yeah. Here's some bad news for all the Sherlock fans out there. You do know that the newest season is on hold because both Marty Freeman and Benedict are quite busy. And they don't know when they're going to get in and film a new They
sporadically film that thing because it could be a year apart or it could be 3 years apart. It's like whenever they get together.
Right. And what they're talking about right now is...
Christina says 2016.
That might be a possibility because I know that they're talking about maybe them just getting together and doing like 1 2-hour movie and then taking a break again because they both have so much going on. And you know, Marty Freeman who plays Watson, he's in that new FX series Fargo and he's the main character, and if that gets picked up for a second season, he's going to be extremely busy.
Benedict, is he British in that?
No, but he hides the accent well because
that's what I meant.
You know, they're doing the whole Brainerd, what's the word I'm looking for, accent type thing like in the original Fargo. So
right. The Wyoming or Montana accents sounds almost Canadian.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And Benedict Cumberbatch is doing tons of movies now, right?
Yeah, he is. But what's really funny is one of the other big BBC performers, of course, is Sir Ian McKellen, who's extremely busy in the world. He just announced he is going to be playing Sherlock Holmes in a new upcoming film. There's a movie coming out. It's going to be called A Slight Trick of the Mind, and it's going to be a much older Sherlock looking back at his life and reflecting and still fretting and fawning over a case that he could never solve.
Well, that's a throwback to being, having an older Sherlock, like in the original or in the old black and white movies with Basil Rathbone.
Right. And so that should be interesting. It's apparently based on a book, and I had not heard of the book or the author until I just heard today about Kelly playing the role. So we'll have to see.
Let me say one more thing about Sherlock, and then we got to get out of here, dude. We're getting over time here. The end of the first season, the cliffhanger there. You're aware that this is not a spoiler because I'm not going to tell you what happens, but Sherlock Holmes actually dies.
You're talking about the end of season 2.
Season 2, right? I'm sorry.
Right, yeah.
And the fact that he dies so convincingly with absolutely no way of coming back was mind-boggling to me, and I got to admit, I puzzled over it. After watching it, I purposely didn't watch the opening show of the next season because I'm like, all right, I know he's not dead because he's come back. He's advertised. He's on TV. I see him, PBS. By the way, that's a PBS show, asshole. Lionheart.
It's BBC.
But aired on PBS.
Not all the time. Not in all states.
Masterpiece Theater played it.
Oh, see, out here we have the BBC channel.
Well, we do too. We do too, and we can watch it there too. But anyways, so when I did watch that episode to see how he came back, the writers all knew, the producers and writers all knew that everybody was puzzling over how they were going to bring him back. And so they made fun of us in a very good, positive, intelligent way. And that is, not only are we going to show you how he lived, we're going to give you 12 different ways how he could have lived. And they just slap you with it, man. And I'm like, yes, that's so cool.
You know what? In that whole montage, my favorite was the one that the girl was telling, and it was, Sherlock was dangling a horribly made mannequin, and him and Moriarty were actually sitting there joking, and almost, they were playing up the homosexual aspect, and the two were almost making out as they were sitting there. I found that hilarious,
Do you agree with me that the Moriarty in Sherlock is probably the best Moriarty ever on any film or TV?
Yeah, he is.
He's good.
Well, I really enjoyed Jared Harris in the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes.
See, I didn't care for him. But
I'm a Jared Harris fan. But yes,
the thing about the Robert Downey Jr. films are they're really fun, and they're slapstick action films, but they're not Sherlock Holmes mysteries.
Right. No, and I agree with you. But yes, the gentleman who is playing Moriarty he's crazy, man. He does a good crazy. He does. He's something else.
Just like you.
Yes, I'm one.
You do a good crazy. You do a good crazy. You drunk.
I am crazy.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. We have to wrap this up, so let us do so. I'm going to stand up and magically walk right through my desk. Voila. See, I am a magician in Second Life. Anyways, we would like to thank our studio audience for coming in and watching our silly shenanigans and our ranting and ravings. It's quite a catharsis, actually, so thank you for letting us do this. If you want to support us, there's a tip jar in the middle, but it's not expected, it's just appreciated. Those out in the stream, please subscribe to the live stream if you want to watch it live. Of course, you can log into Second Life and come to our studio and see it for free. Otherwise, in a couple of days, this episode will be edited, graphics will be added, and we will put it on YouTube. So please subscribe to the Angry and Ornery channel on YouTube. The more subscribers we have, the more famous we'll get. And if we get famous, we'll get rich. And if we get rich, we'll share our wealth with all of you people out there by buying you wonderful virtual things in Second Life. Doesn't that sound thrilling?
Wow.
Just like that. I was just doing that for Josh because he still thinks he's getting a trip to Cancun for coming tonight. So, anyways, thank you guys for all coming, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Let us know. Leave some feedback on the YouTube channel, and you all have a great night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.